Okay, this is with respect to the non-stop marathon hearing on the Aadhaar issue, with the Attorney General informing Supreme Court that currently Aadhaar is not compulsory for obtaining a new SIM card. However, if the Aadhaar is linked to the SIM cards, fraud and forgery will decline. It of course is saying preferably if the linkage is done, it would reduce fraud, but it is not been made compulsory. Making this very clear is the Attorney General informing the Supreme Court and through the Supreme Court informing the people of India here as well that it is not compulsory to give your Aadhaar if you need to buy a new SIM card. The government has acknowledged this, that it has never made compulsory Aadhaar for obtaining SIM card. It is an observation that was also made by the Supreme Court last time itself. Attorney General has informed the Supreme Court that till the final judgment that would be made by the Supreme Court here on this, linking your Aadhaar to the SIM or buying a new SIM without revealing your Aadhaar number is an option. Our Deputy News Editor, Meenakshi Bhanja, with more information here on this. Meenakshi, please go ahead.
Well, Seher, this is day 36 and we are seeing a very important statement being made by the Attorney General on behalf of the Government of India before the Constitution bench of the Supreme Court. And just a short while back, the Attorney on behalf of the central government has submitted that currently, as things stand, Aadhaar is not mandatory for obtaining a new SIM card. He has gone on that there will be lesser instances of fraud and forgery. However, in view of the observation that the Supreme Court, our viewers will recall, made at the last hearing to the Government of India pertaining to as to how its judgment or directions in the Lokniti Foundation case never made it binding for SIM cards to be linked to Aadhaar, the government has shown a conciliatory gesture of sorts. They have acknowledged the fact that Supreme Court in the past never mandated for the SIM cards to be compulsorily linked with Aadhaar. And like you correctly referred to just moments back, we have the statement from the Attorney General of India to the Supreme Court that for now, as things stand, till the final verdict of the Supreme Court on the validity of the Aadhaar Act is out, Seher, till that time, the government is not going to insist on a linking of SIM card to Aadhaar. Therefore, it's an optional choice people can exercise.
All right,
however,
but Meenakshi, what explains...
Yes, Seher.
Right, won't be insisted upon, but what explains in all of these months here that we've been facing, hounded by messages from our mobile operators to link your existing numbers, your SIM to the Aadhaar? If this was not as per instructions given out by the central government to various mobile companies, what explains these messages that we've been flooded with in all these past months?
Well, Azhar, one thing, we are clearly living in times where it falls upon the citizen to also take the responsibility to become more informed themselves. We can no longer clearly just be going by any form of messages or any form of sort of like, information which is coming through by the corporates. Clearly, as things stand now, the telecom operators will have to rework their messages. They will perhaps need to give more clarity to their customers, to their clients, that even the Government of India just moments back has made this very important, pertinent statement before the Supreme Court that in the present date, as things stand today, till the final verdict of the Supreme Court is out on the constitutional validity of the Aadhaar Act itself, no telecom providers can now insist for any customer to link the SIM cards to Aadhaar. That is the factual correct position. And as I
all right,
we at Mirror Now can only hope that the citizens become more informed themselves.
That's right. That's an interesting way to put it. Of course, we need to be more alert about the correct information, irrespective of whatever messages we're being sent by authorities such as banks or mobile phone operators here. Important to know what the Supreme Court has been stating in this marathon hearing, Meenakshi. But there is also a preference that has been given, while it has been stated that it is not compulsory, but it would help fight fraud and forgery. Is there a further explanation on this?
Well, sir, we are just bringing the exact statement verbatim as it was made in the Supreme Court. But we have seen several explanations as to why the
Okay.
government really feels this way, and they again have this notion that indeed Aadhaar is a foolproof way of really checking forgeries, frauds, and having better, greater transparency insofar as banking transactions, insofar as identification of
Okay. Meenakshi, another update that you're sending us that you could further explain for our viewers here, with the Attorney General stating that there is no biometric data which is shared under the Aadhaar Act and therefore cannot accuse a democratic government of surveillance. What does this effectively mean? Biometric data is already available on our Aadhaar cards with respect to each of our Aadhaar numbers, which can be tracked.
Well, sir, we are here bringing the arguments that the attorney is placing before the Supreme Court on behalf of the Government of India. And we have seen in the past the UIDAI, as early as yesterday, even today, really go ahead and rebut all aspersions that have been cast on social media pertaining to how even the software of Aadhaar can be breached or bypassed by a French security person who has this
Yes.
online displaying a video. But that apart, these are the set of arguments that the attorney is making to showcase really the bona fides of the government, to showcase the bona fides of the Aadhaar Act, whereon he is going to cite this particular instance as to how the government takes offense to the fact that Aadhaar can be used for surveillance purpose, because it is a democratically elected government and India is a welfare state. So such aspersions really cannot be cast on a democratically elected government. That is the argument, or the line rather, that the attorney is taking. Remember, the matter is still underway, Seher. We will see rejoinders or rebuttals to these arguments, and furthermore, the bench is likely to place its own mind, have perhaps further observations to the attorney's points of view. But clearly, the Government of India really making a determined pitch before the Supreme Court. But we have seen so many twists and turns in this thus far. Even this linking of cards to Aadhaar is happening as a result of one observation of the Supreme Court. Remember that, and that's the reason today the government is making the statement that linking of SIM card to Aadhaar is merely optional. It is not mandated by any past orders of the Apex Court.
All right, Meenakshi, many thanks for getting us those inputs, without doubt, in what has been one of the most interesting trials of our times here, in what is being heard in court, the marathon hearing on this issue.